Even so, towards all living beings, countless loving kindness, about the will, without behavior or but standing walk is steady, lying down, never awake. This is called divine love. Is the virtue without vision. The desire to spiritual pleasures. Never bring further. Turn on the light. Let us focus on mind concentration and continue to breathe in and out the mind. Keeping the mind in the present moment. Present moment is not anything. In the present moment, noticing that moving in and out, we focus on and whenever it becomes no difference, body, mind, also becomes. If any thought enters the mind without dwell upon it, let it go. Any thought that arises also is impermanent. Any feeling is impermanent. Any perception is impermanent. Any more feeling, season arising. If you don't nourish them, if we simply leave them more as they come, then it will be easy for you to respond to it. And gradually right? And with the concentrated mind, you can see the snuggiest changes in your body. You only notice your vibration in the body. You are rising the body. You don't want to perceive like all this here through to see in us through strength of thought. Let us all practice meditation. මේක දාන්න දැම්මොත් ටිකක් හොඳට පැහැදිලිව පේනවට. Disconnect කරලා. Okay. Good. Friends, today my talk is on right speech. We learned earlier right speech is also important factor of the Noble8Fold Path. That is the step number 3. The speech can be very, very, very important in, as we know, for our communication. So we learn the definition of right speech. Right speech is the speech abstaining from false speech, abstaining from divisive speech, abstaining from harsh speech, abstaining from idle chatter. So these are the 4 types of right speech. Abstaining. One can abstain from telling lies when we verbalize it. One can tell lies even without verbalizing, in silence. In the monastic code, there is a rule that when there were questions with regard to certain ethical principles, if they will be questioned 3 times, if they remain silent, even though they have committed an offense, if they remain silent, then the questioner will assume that he is not guilty. But if the person has committed something and remained guilty, then the person, the monastic, will lie by omission. So we can lie by omission or by commission. So even the lying by omission is a lie. Now, especially monastics, a statement endowed with the 5 factors is considered to be well spoken, not ill spoken. It is blameless and unfaulted by knowledgeable people. People know that this person is speaking factually, not incorrectly. Then the speech should be spoken under these 5 conditions in order to make it the right speech. It is spoken at the right time. It is spoken in truth. It is spoken affectionately. It is spoken beneficially. It is spoken with a mind of goodwill. That is the right speech. All speech is so dangerous that one who, Buddha said, that one who commits one offense, that individual can commit any evil in the world. And it says, Ekam dhammang atitasa mutavadisa jantuno within the paralokasa natti papang akaryam. For the person who transgresses in one thing, there is no evil deed that is not to be done by that person. He commits one offense. That offense is so serious, after that he can commit any offense, any evil, because he has already destroyed his future. When one tells a lie, he does not want others to know it. And if others come to know it, he would be embarrassed. He would feel guilty. He cannot face society. When he goes to a society, he cannot go with dignity, with pride. He will feel very embarrassed to face people. Therefore, the untruth or lie is stinky. there is a saying in Sinhalese, I think it can be translated into English. It is like a cat that defecates on a rock. When a cat defecates, he covers it with his paws, with sand or mud or whatever, he covers. But if he defecates on a rock, anytime he tries to cover, he spread the stink, bad smell. Similarly, when one commits and one tells a lie, he has to tell more lies to cover that lie. The more lies he tells, more stinky he will be. So it is not very pleasant situation. So it has a very important, very dangerous repercussions, consequence. One should speak, therefore, only that words by which one would not torment himself nor harm others. That word should be indeed important word. One should speak only pleasant words, words which are acceptable to others. What one speaks without bringing evil to others is the right speech. So, and how one purifies through well-spoken speech. And Buddha asked this question, and how is one made pure in 4 ways by verbal action? There is the case where is a certain person abandoning false speech, abstaining from false speech, when he has been called to a town meeting, a group meeting, a gathering of his relatives, his guild, or of the royalty, if he is asked as a witness, come. Tell, good man, what you know. If he doesn't know, he says, I don't know. If he hasn't seen, he says, I have not seen. If he hasn't heard, he says, I have not heard. If he has seen, he says honestly, yes, I have seen. If he is known, he should say, I know. If he has heard, he should say, I have heard. You know, this is very important thing. You know, suppose there is a crowd and there is somebody either beating up someone or shooting in the crowd, you happen to be there. When police come and police see many people and they begin to question the people in the crowd. If you happen to be there, perhaps you saw a man coming with a gun and shooting at somebody. You saw it, but you are afraid to tell the police because this gunman, for some reason, because there are all kinds of lawyers, criminal lawyers, when he is brought to the court, and if you have told the police that you saw this man shooting, you will be asked to come to the court and bear witness. And you are afraid of that. You have to tell this, I saw this man shooting. Then this criminal would somehow go to jail maybe for several years. He may not be sentenced to death because of various reasons that lawyers bring up in the court. He may go to jail for a few years. When he comes out, he notices you and he will shoot you and kill you. For this reason, you are afraid to tell the truth. People are afraid to tell the truth for 4 reasons. Chanda, dosa, bhaya, moha. Chanda means desire. Dosa means anger. Moha means delusion. Bhaya means fear. Out of these 4 biases, people are afraid to tell the truth. However, one who speaks the truth will find a way to clean that person's mind by telling the truth. Then, next right speech is divisive speech. Abandoning divisive speech, he abstained from divisive speech. What he has heard here, he does not tell there to break those people apart from these people here. Dear friends, that is called slandering. What he has heard there, he does not tell here to break these people apart from those people there. Thus reconciling these people, those who are divided, they try to reconcile and unite them. If there are people united, they concrete, they affirm, encourage them to stay united. That is the second kind of right speech. Third is abandoning abusive speech. He abstained from abusing speech. He speaks words that are soothing to the ear, that are affectionate, that go to the heart, that are polite, appealing and pleasing to people at large. This doesn't mean that you are hypocritical. Honestly, sincerely, you speak gently, kindly, softly, with the intention of bringing peace and harmony. It is very easy for people to use verbal dagger. That's called mukha satyena vitudayati. Buddha call it mukha satyena vitudayati. Sometimes people, they have some innuendo, in the intention. They may superficially sound very soft, gentle and kind, but inside there is poison. Madhu chittati jivagre hridi hala halang visam. Madhu chittati jivagre hridi hala halang visam. At the tip of that person's tongue, there is honey. Words are like honey, very sweet. But in the heart, there is poison. Hala hala means deadly poison. In the heart, there is deadly poison. But the words are very sweet and gentle and kind and soft. That should be avoided to make a speech right speech. The sweetness must come from the heart. Gentleness must come from the heart. Kindness must come from the heart. There has to be sincerity, honesty in our expression. We don't want to be politicians. They are the ones who have very sweet words, but most of them are very dishonest. Words are sweet, but heart is not. So, that is the third kind of right speech. Fourth kind of right speech is speech called idle chatter. There is a whole list of idle chatters that I like to mention, especially these idle chatters are supposed to be avoided by the monastics, but even they can have very wonderful benefit for lay people as well. So abstaining from idle chatter, he speaks in reason, he speaks what is factual, what is in accordance with the truth, the Dhamma, and Vinaya. He speaks worthy as a treasury, and reasonable, meaningful, and circumscribed, connected with the goal. So, what is the goal? Our goal is peace. Our goal is liberation from suffering. So our speech always must lead to that. We will give a list of all speeches that we have to make in order to have peace. Now these are the other idle chatters that are not supposed to utter. And there are 32. I don't know whether you have time to write down or remember. They are called 32 nonsensical talks. Nonsensical to especially the monastics, not lay people. Lay people are engaged in all this, but it is perhaps very good for lay people also to remember them. Talking about kings, Rajakatha, kings or queens. For the monastics, that is not the kind of talk that they should do. Rajakatha. Chorakatha, talking about the robbers, the way how they rob, how they escape the police, how they plan. All these are not necessary for monastic. Then, talking about ministers, not only them, and ministers, there are Pali words for them. I try to avoid Chorakatha, Mahamachakatha. And talk about armies, Senakatha. Talk about alarms, Bhayakatha. You see movies, very, frightening movies, talk about them. Or demons, Bhayakatha. Not necessary. Then talking about battle, Yuddha Katha. Talking about food. Normally people have to talk about food when they give dharna, when they throw a party and so forth, they have to. But for the monastic, these are particularly for monastic. Monastics are not supposed to talk about food because they eat whatever they receive, going on arms round and so forth. Talking about drinks, what kind of drinks they should have today, tea or coffee or soft drink or Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, Diet Cola, orange juice, whatever. Not talk about that. Talk about the clothing, Vatsakatha. Because monastic already have their clothes, robes. They don't have to talk about them anymore. Because they live a very simple life. Vatsakatha. Talking about beds. What kind of beds? Hospital beds, double beds, or triple beds, or single beds, high beds, or low beds? No. Saranakatha. Then talk about garland, Malakatha. Monks are not wearing garlands anyway. So why should they talk about them? Not Malakatha. Then talk about Gandhakatha, Malakatha and the Gandhakatha, perfumes. Monastics don't use perfumes. So they don't have to talk about it. It's just waste of time. Then talking about relatives, Jnatikatha. There are certain situations where they have to talk about relatives when they are sick. the monastic can talk and monastic can meet and help them if their relatives are sick, mother, father, brother, sister, and so forth. Otherwise, talking about them means talking about their business. They are not supposed to talk about them. Jnati katha. Then, jnati katha, perfume, relatives, and yana katha, vehicles. What kind of vehicle we should buy, what kind of vehicle we should sell, and so forth. Yana katha. Then furniture, talk about furniture. And talk about scents, gandha katha, what kind of scents we must use. And talking about villages, gama katha. Talking about towns, nigama katha. Talking about cities, janapada katha. Now talking about the countries, janapada katha. Towns, cities, and what do you call, countryside. And talking about women. Monks are not supposed to talk about women. That is lay people's business. And talking about men, not about men, Purusha Katha. Talking about boys, Kumara Katha. Talking about girls, Kumari Katha. Then talking about heroes, Sura Katha, hero. Hero in boxing, Olympics, and so forth. Hero. Sura Katha. And then talk about gossip of the streets, about the street, Viti Katha. Then the well, about what kind of well, because around well people those days gathered and have their chit-chat. So well is a symbol of gossip, therefore not well. Then tales of the dead, Peda Katha, talking about dead people. Then tales of the diversity or philosophical discussion of a past and future, not necessary for monastics in Theravada tradition. Then number 30, the creation of the world, Loka iti Katha, creation of the world, not totally necessary. 31 is Samudra Katha, talking about the seas, ocean, all kinds of seas. 32, talking of whether things exist or not exist. That is what you call iti bhava bhava katha. Iti bhava bhava katha. These are the 32 talks that we are not supposed to do. Who? The monastics. Their right speech is much more serious than lay people's right speech. Lay people have certain freedom to talk about these things. So their right speech is sort of limited. Ours is extended, very subtle and very deep. So the quarreling with verbal daggers is another kind of talk that we have to avoid. Monastics are not supposed to quarrel using all kind of harsh words, what do you call, Then, in the Buddha's time, it was very common. Some ascetics and Brahmins, living off of food given in faith, they are addicted to the debates, and that creates disharmony. And you might say, you don't understand this doctrine and discipline. I'm the one who understands this doctrine and discipline. You are practicing wrong. I'm practicing right. You are not consistent. I'm consistent. And so forth. Over the teaching, they used to quarrel. Buddha said, this is not monastics way of talking. And one time there was such a talk among certain monks. Buddha tried to settle it. Even the Buddha could not settle that dispute. So he left the monastery, went to a forest called Parleya forest. These monks are over a very tiny little thing. They had a quarrel. And it was between the what you call city monks and forest-dwelling monks. Forest-dwelling monk came to the city, and they went to, in those days in India, even today, in most of the Asian countries, that's a very common habit. When you go to toilet, you have to wash. After washing, the pot should be turned upside down to dry it. This forest-dwelling monk came to the city and went to the toilet, used it, and after washing, that particular monk did not turn the pot upside down, and little water remained in the pot. City-dwelling monk went to the toilet and saw this water, and he made big uproar and said, these forest-dwelling monks don't know Vinaya, don't know rules, no discipline, they don't know etiquette, manners. And over that, they started quarreling. Quarreling, using harsh words. And then when that went to the Buddha, and Buddha said, Bhikkhus, don't quarrel over this little thing, don't quarrel. This is very tiny thing, you just forget. Don't quarrel. They did not stop. They then said, Venerable sir, you stay out of this. We will settle it a bit among ourselves. Don't interfere. They even reprimanded even the Buddha. Buddha said, okay, you settle it, I'm leaving. He left. And after some times, people came to the monastery, and Buddha was not there. They always came to the monastery to see the Buddha. And when the Buddha was not there, they asked monks, what happened to the Buddha? They had to tell the truth. They said there was a dispute, and still they were going on dispute. Then people said, either you settle your dispute and bring the Buddha back, or we don't give you food. We don't give you food. When their stomach is growling, without food, they had to settle the dispute. And then Buddha came, they went and informed the Buddha that they settled the dispute. So, don't quarrel. Quarreling is harmful. Quarreling is harmful not only to you, but even to lay people. Because the lay people look up to monastics as their guide, their mentor, their leaders, example for them to follow. If the monastic fight verbally, then people will be disappointed. Buddha's teaching is live, monastic must live, appasanna nama pasadaya, pasanna nama biyo bhavaya. Live so that when those people who don't have faith, saddha, will have saddha by seeing the peaceful behavior of monastics. If they have faith already, they will increase their faith by seeing the peaceful behavior of monastics. And therefore Buddha asked monastic to do that. Anyway, so this the of rice peace. So Buddha said, monks, do not wage wordy warfare. Don't wage wordy warfare. That is, don't quarrel. Then, why Buddha asked monastic not to do that? Because Buddha said, why should you not do this? Such talk, monks, is not related to the goal. It is not fundamental to the holy life. It does not conducive to disenchantment, nibbidaya. It is not conducive to disenchantment, nibbida. Disenchantment, I mentioned, I think, yesterday. Disenchantment means, I think it is called nibbida. For this has been translated into Sinhalese as what is nibbida? Kalla kirenwa. Sinhalese people who know the language understand the word kalla kirenwa. In English, disenchantment. Disenchantment does not mean something negative. That is most positive, wholesome, peaceful, equanimous mental state. For instance, you don't enchant with this table. This table is just a table. It doesn't mean you are negative about the table. You are not enchanted with the table. You treat it neutrally. Similarly, disenchantment means you are very neutral. That leads to dispassion, viraga. Raga means gluing, clinging. Viraga means not gluing, not clinging. This kind of talk does not lead to cessation. Buddha said, cessation of what? Cessation of suffering. This kind of talk does not lead to tranquility, upasamaya. This kind of talk is not leading to higher knowledge, abhinyaya. This kind of talk will not lead to enlightenment, sambodhaya. This kind of talk will not lead to attaining nibbana. Nibbana. And therefore, Buddha said, don't do this kind of talk. When you have discussion amongst, you should discuss, this is very important, you should discuss suffering, dukkha. We can talk any amount of things about dukkha using Dhamma terms. Talk about cause of dukkha, talk about ending of dukkha, talk about the path leading to the ending of dukkha. You know, when Buddha was going to pass away, Venerable Ananda asked the Buddha, Sir, how can we behave towards women? Buddha said, don't look at them. Venerable said, if we happen to see them, don't talk to them. If you happen to talk to them, speak 4 words. Speak 4 words. What are the 4 words? Dukkha, Samadaya, Nirodha, Magga. So, anytime we can talk about them, no restrictions, no conditions to talk about dukkha, samadaya, nirodha, magga. And also, Buddha said that because when you assemble, Sannipatthana bhikke bhikkhu nang dvayam karaniyam. Tunni aryova tunni bhavo dhammiva katha. When monks assemble together, they can do one of the 2 things. Either observe noble silence or speak on Dhamma. Noble silence, normally people, even we have seen here sometimes people put a sign on their shirt saying, I'm observing noble silence. Friends, that is not a noble silence. Real noble silence is when you attain the 2nd jhana, where vitakka vichara cease, at that time you have noble silence. That means when you are in a, this instruction is given to monastics, the monastics must observe either noble silence, that means sit down, focus your mind on breath, meditate, stay in meditation, amidst of all these people, all the other monks. Meditate, attain 1st jhana, 2nd jhana, and stay there. Noble silence. Or talk about Dhamma. There are 10 topics that Buddha allowed us to talk. Talk on modesty, appichakata. Talk on modesty. Then talk on contentment, santutikata. Talk on seclusion, avivekakata. Talk on non-entanglement, asangsargakata. Asangsargakata. I will explain these things a little bit more later on when I finish all the 10. Then on arousing persistence, viriyarambhagata. Then on virtues, silakata. On concentration, samadhikata. On discernment, panyakata. On release, vimuttikata. and on the knowledge and vision of release, Vimutti Jnana Darsana Katha. These are the 10 kind of talks that we are supposed to do. First is modesty. Our food, robes, shelter, medicine should be used moderately, not luxurious things. That is modesty. Contentment is what we receive. We should be content with that, satisfied with that, without demanding too much. When we demand too much, we will overburden people. So the monastic must have compassion for people. If they demand too much, that will overtax people. Then seclusion is very important thing. When we have seclusion, we have plenty of time to think and meditate, calm, recuperate and rebuild our energy. If we always engage in activities, we will not be able to perform our jobs properly. We will not be able to do our job properly because we don't have rest. Then asangsagda, mixing with people all the time, with families, members, societies, committees, and gatherings and so forth, we drain our energy. It is very hard on our nerves, and therefore monastic must have some time for themselves. Then Viriyarambhakatha. We must always try to make effort. Fourfold effort, we will learn about them later on. So now we have to, these 10 topics we must remember to use when we meet together among. When we talk, Buddha asks us to talk about Dhamma, these are the topics. These are the topics that we are supposed to talk about. Then the criterion of saying what is to be said. This is also very important. What we say, how we say it, and when we say it. In the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be unfactual, untrue, unbeneficial, or not connected with the goal, unendearing, and disagreeable to others, he does not say that word. Secondly, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, unbeneficial, unendearing, and disagreeable to others, he does not say that word. Thirdly, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, beneficial, but unendearing, and disagreeable to others, he does not say that. Number 5, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, unbeneficial, but endearing and agreeable to others, he does not say that. Number 6, in the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, beneficial, and endearing and agreeable to others, he has sense of the proper time to say that. Why is that? Because the Tathagata is very compassionate towards people. So, when we speak, this advice is given to Venerable Rahula, Buddha's son. He said, Rahula, when you speak, before you speak, you ask this question: is this speech going to hurt me, hurt the listener, hurt both? You should not speak that. You should not speak that. Before you speak, when you think of speaking to some, using certain words, before you speak, if you know this word is pleasant to you, pleasant to others, pleasant to both, meaningful, beneficial to you, others, and both, then you utter that word. While you are talking, you ask the question, am I talking with greed, hatred, delusion, jealousy, fear? I should not talk that. I should stop it right away. When after speaking, if you know that your words were hurting, they were insulting, abusive, then you must confess. Confess to another. After speaking, if you think that your speech was calming, soothing, beneficial to you and to others, then continue that kind of talks. So, then the Buddha said, when somebody, when suppose the monastic or anybody confess to somebody, I did such and such a wrong speech, I made such and such a wrong speech, and he confesses to somebody. When he confesses to somebody, the one who admonishes him, advises him, must have these qualities in that person. That also is very important. Not only confessing, but the one who gives advice, admonition, the one who made the commitment of offense, must have these qualities. Am I one who practices purity in bodily action, flawless and unstained? Am I pure in my bodily actions? I'm the one. Am I one who practices purity in bodily actions? One must question oneself. Secondly, Am I one who practices purity in speech? I'm advising others. Am I pure in my speech? Flawless and untainted in my speech? Thirdly, he must ask, is the heart of goodwill free from malice established in me towards fellow person, fellow bearers in the holy life? Number 4, am I or am I not one who has heard much, who bears in mind what he has heard, who stores up what he has heard? Those teaching which are good at the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end, and perfectly pure in spirit and the letter. Have I learned this? Have I remembered them? Am I following those instructions when I give advice to somebody? Fifthly, am I following monastic rules? This is especially about the monastic. Am I following monastic rules honestly, sincerely, to give advice to this person, so that he will not point his finger at me? It is possible that if I have broken this principle, it is possible for that person to point his finger at me. Or also he must ask, do I speak at the right time or not? Do I speak of facts or not? Do I speak gently or harshly? Do I speak profitably or not? Do I speak with kind heart or with malicious intention? So the advisor himself also must have this, must ask this question oneself. Let me advise others. So, therefore, right speech is extremely important because it is a way of communication. When we communicate in writing or speaking or in silence, we have to keep our moral, ethical attitude within us. Because this is one of the steps of the Noble8FoldPath that leads to attaining liberation. And therefore, in the Noble8FoldPath, there are 3 cardinal factors. You must remember, 3 cardinal factors. Number 1, right understanding. Right understanding of the right speech. Right understanding of the wrong speech. Meaning the disadvantage, harm caused by wrong speech, and advantage and benefit caused by right speech. Understanding. Secondly, we have to be mindful of the situation, the persons, the words that we use to utter, either to give advice or to give witness or to communicate. We have to have, we have to be mindful. Thirdly, we have to have effort to implement these principles. Implement our understanding and implement our mindfulness. We have to have an effort. Therefore, these three factors, right understanding, right mindfulness, and right effort, are called cardinal factors to the Noble Eightfold Path. That applies to every steps of the Noble Eightfold Path. I think with this, I like to end this morning's talk, and I hope this will benefit all of us to keep up with the awareness of right speech. Thank you.